We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown. Because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
Hold on, guys. I don't know if you can hear me. Let me make sure. I got my settings there. I don't know what's going on. Can you guys hear me in the chat? Yeah, I don't know. Crazy this, but let me know if you can hear me. I don't even know. I don't hear sound on my end. Okay, I'm good. There we go. Great. I just did an episode not long ago, so if you guys check that out, and I don't know, but I couldn't hear the intro. I couldn't hear anything going. So there we go. Anyway, good stuff here. Just breaking right into it. 5-star wide receiver Dallas Wilson. In some ways, you can call it a flip. He was there at Oregon. Doesn't work out at Oregon. Signs there, or doesn't really sign there. Asks for his release, and is now a Florida Gator. And yeah, what a storyline! What a storyline for this one. If it certainly tells us anything, it is you don't give up on guys. You know, in this crazy world of recruiting, you never know what can happen. So just certainly the one we've been waiting on. This it's been floating out there for a few days. Of course, all the storylines going with this. We saw him there at the bowl game, the Gasparilla Bowl. High-fiving DJ Lagway after the game. He was on campus at the basketball game Saturday. He was on, taking his visit here. Had to leave his visit, to go take care of some of his grandmother there in Tampa, and it just works out. It just works out in the end for Florida. So what a haul here! What a haul you had to. It stung so bad on signing day because it was supposed to be done then. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. Dallas Wilson, the 5-star wide receiver from Tampa, right here, a Florida Gator. I apologize for the beginning, guys. There, I wasn't sure if you'd be able to hear me because I couldn't hear on my end. I wasn't sure. Alexander, hey man, you read my mind. You kind of got the gist of why we're here, guys. But Alexander says, "Hey, thanks to Florida Victorious, guys." We know. I'd say it one more time. We know what it takes in college football now. You might not like it. You may not like the direction of the program. You may not like the direction of the program with NIL. You may not like college football in the direction of NIL, but that's just the way it is right now. And that's kind of just what has to be done. So hey, yeah, Florida Victorious, you guys can take advantage. Get 20% off your first month there with promo codes GatorBD. That's the game you got to play now. That is a game you got to play now. And right now is a great time to take advantage because right now it's still going on. The donation match. 2 generous donors are matching all football designated gifts to Florida Victorious, dollar for dollar, up to $1 million through January 17th. So if we can get there to $1 million, there's going to be another $1 million right there. Could be a $2 million influx to the football program in just the next couple of weeks. And it helps getting these 5 stars like this. I've had plenty of you tell me, hey, when we see results, when we see recruiting, when we see results on the field, and when we see results on the recruiting trail, that's when I'll start doing it. Okay, well, Florida's won 4 games in a row. Florida just got a 5-star wide receiver, one of the top players in the country. What you waiting on? A lot of your contributions have already went a long way in making things like this possible. If you can, I know it's the holiday season. I know it, and the economy out there is not the best for everybody. But if you want to go win some ball games, this is about the easiest, most straightforward path to do so. Talent acquisition, and it starts with Florida Victorious. One more time. Promo code GatorsBD also gets you a deal. Nick De La Torre, my good buddy Nick De La Torre, content director there at Florida Victorious. He's keeping you guys updated. He's doing a great job. You get more at Florida Victorious than you've ever gotten as a Gator fan. You can take advantage. Promo code GatorsBD, 20% off. All right, let's get to it. Dallas Wilson. Let's pull up some highlights. If you haven't watched him yet, be prepared to be amazed because the kid brings it. 5-star, 6'3", 195 pounds. On the 24/7 Sports Composite, he is the 20th ranked overall player in the class of 2025 and the 4th ranked wide receiver in the class. The only 3 industry rankings have Wilson as the 19th overall player and the 2nd ranked wide receiver in the class. Guys, Florida basically flips him from the current number 1 team in the country, the Oregon Ducks, a place he has been committed since January of 2023. Almost 2 years he's been committed to that program. They're the number 1 team in the country. They're in the college football playoff. Now, things work out. If things were just going as planned, he'd be going to Oregon. But they're not. Just not meant to be. Meant to be for him to be in orange and blue. And look, and it sends a statement right here for this staff to get an in-state target to end up in the orange and blue. And this was very close to happening on signing day, before a last-minute change of heart to stick with Oregon right before his signing day announcement. Well, guys, remember, he's getting ready. He's going there to make his announcement to Florida. He takes one phone call from Oregon right before it, and he decides to stick with Oregon. Pulling at the heartstrings right there of Dallas Wilson. Miami, go back to signing day. Miami tried to jump in late there too. Just don't have as much to sell as Florida, especially at the quarterback spot. So if it wasn't going to be Oregon, it was going to be Florida. And the biggest thing here is Wilson wanted to stay closer to home, staying close to family. Asked for his release from Oregon, they granted. So he's a part of the 2025 class. And look, this started filtering out earlier this past week. And if you're on Gators Breakdown Plus Discord, there was some talk already about it earlier in the week, but it needed to stay quiet as much as possible. We didn't need this one to mess up. So it was kept low-key as possible. But then on Wednesday, the Oregon side got wind of this storyline playing out. And then it started opening up the floodgates. We can't do anything about the Oregon side talking about it. If it's on social media and from the Gator side and it needs to stay quiet, okay, I will do everything I can to share that, hey, this needs to be low key. But once the Oregon side got that, we can't do anything about that. So they were putting it on message boards. They were putting it on social media. By that time, it was already too late. So nothing we can do about the Oregon side of it. It worked out anyway. Just kind of blaze throughout the week, Wednesday, Thursday, and we kind of just knew it was going to happen. Just kind of had to be patient a little bit. Florida was in Tampa getting ready for the bowl game. He was going to be in town this weekend, putting the final touches on this thing. So I know a lot of people out there had already put in episodes about the whole process. I wanted to wait for it was official. Nobody did anything wrong. I'm not trying to say that or anything like that. But I personally, for me, I just wanted to wait. I didn't want to go with anything before it was official. We know how things can go. I wasn't really scared this one wasn't going to happen, but I didn't need to be first. I wanted to be right. So, of course, we've talked about it in plenty of the other episodes. So we weren't hiding behind it, but the type of player Florida's getting, the whole storyline of how it all happened, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, I was okay with waiting. All right, so talking about the player, Dallas Wilson. This season, he just finished with 41 catches for 677 yards and 9 touchdowns. You're watching the beautiful highlights right here. 2 seasons ago in 2023, he finished his junior season with 49 catches for 872 yards, 9 touchdowns in 11 games. Helped Tampa Bay Tech reach regional finals of Florida's 3M playoffs. In 2022, as a sophomore, caught 40 passes, 875 yards, 12 touchdowns in 12 games. So one more time, 12 touchdowns in 2022, 9 touchdowns in 2023, and 9 touchdowns this past season, his senior season. So 30 touchdowns in 3 years. Andrew Ivins of 24/7 Sports offers this evaluation of Dallas Wilson. Self-assertive wide receiver with the size, hands, and speed to emerge as a true impact player for a college football playoff contender. Launches out of his stance with attacks, cushions with conviction before breaking off defensive backs with snappy cuts. Firm 10-inch hands and 6'3", 205-pound frame give him the advantage more times than not at the catch point, and has put a few acrobatic grabs on the highlight reel over the years. Initially projected as more of a linear vertical threat before a senior campaign in which he started to generate more and more chunk plays via catch-and-run opportunities, reaching a top gear while angling through traffic. Embraces the role as a perimeter blocker and will hand fight with cornerbacks even if the run is going the other way. Overall, should be viewed as one of the top pass catchers in the 2025 cycle, given his big play capabilities and rare physical features. Must buy into the process at the college level of his choice and continue to keep evolving as a player, but has NFL potential. Could find success in a variety of different offensive attacks, and the ability to make contested catches might have him in a rotation sooner rather than later. So you can see it. The frame's definitely already there. In the highlights, you can see it all. The go routes, screens, catches over the middle, go up and get it, catches, slants, hitches. He shows it all. Adjust to the ball, not afraid to make catches in traffic. You don't see a whole lot of wasted movement in Dallas Wilson. And I think one of my favorite things in that evaluation by Andrew there was being a blocker. You know, if he's going to get on the field even quicker, his playmaking ability at wide receiver is going to get him on the field. To get him on the field even faster, if he can go out there and block the way he's supposed to. And that's one thing I will give credit for the transfers that came in with Chimere Dike and Elijah Badger. Those two guys that just played wide receiver for Florida, those guys were willing blockers. Those guys made big blocks and big impact plays for Florida. And if he's already got this reputation as a high school player, he's going to fit right in. Yeah, we know, who knows, Billy Gonzalez is going to be the receiver coach for next year or Dallas Wilson's career in the next 3, 4 seasons. But we know how much he likes the blocking aspect of a wide receiver as well. On 3, let's go to their evaluation here. Twitchy wide receiver with the ability to win at the catch point and some of the best after catch ability in the cycle. Measured in at 6'2" 2 3/4, 193 pounds with 32.5-inch arms, 10-inch hands at the On3 Elite Series prior to his senior season. A good athlete who runs well in the combine setting, shows a well-rounded skill set on Friday nights. See how far these highlights are. Let's just restart them over right here. A functional athlete who has a noticeable bounce in his movement, shows quick feet with the ability to cut on a dime. Physical and flashes strong at the hands, at the catch point, attacks the ball in high point situations, outstanding after the catch. Sticks his foot in the ground, gets upfield quickly, has great contact balance, and breaks arm tackles. Dangerous when working underneath and over the middle of the field. Caught 49 passes for 879 yards and 9 touchdowns as a junior. We need to continue adding polish to his game. Projects as a versatile X receiver with the ability to threaten all areas of the field. Dallas Wilson's always focused on doing the little things, so that's why it's not really a surprise how excited he is when you talked about those blocks earlier. He gets excited when he's talking about blocking. He told On3 this as well when trying to compare the blocking aspect of playing receiver to pass catcher. He said, quote, "I pride myself on being a complete receiver," Wilson said. "I don't let up when it's a running play and love setting the edge on runs to the outside. It's fun being physical. Not as fun as catching touchdowns, though." So, hey, he's a receiver. You expect that. But I love the emphasis. On the 5-star receiver talk, a lot of times in today's world, you can get the diva side of it. And look, we know wide receivers are probably the most diva position in all of sports. But here he is in an interview talking about how much he loves to block. Block as a 5-star receiver. He's going to be a 5-star receiver regardless of that. But add that to his game, like I said, let's go get him on the field even faster. So just how good does this make the wide receiver haul for Florida? It makes it pretty darn good. We already know Vernell Brown III's in the class. Just shout out to him for being on the podcast a couple times. But just how special now is this Florida class by adding Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown III together? Well, these guys make up 2 of the top 12 wide receivers the Gators have brought in since the year 2000. 2 top 12 wide receivers right here since the recruiting services has started really becoming a thing. And of course, you've had recruiting services before the year 2000, but nothing like the internet age of following college football. And you started getting your rivals, and you started getting your 24/7s and On3s and all that good stuff. Well, go back to the year 2000. That's when all this, 24 years now. Wilson is the 6th highest receiver the Gators have ever signed since the year 2000, And Vernell Brown III is the 12th highest. Now, this is kind of crazy because Brown III was just a couple of weeks ago the 7th highest. He got re-rated and somehow dropped. Makes no sense to me. But before that drop, he was the 7th ranked. So Florida had the 6th and 7th ranked receivers overall that they have signed since the year 2000. It hasn't been close to being done since Florida brought in Andre Caldwell and Chad Jackson in the class of 2003. Now, of course, those two guys were 5 stars. Since Vernell Brown III, for whatever, he's still a 5-star to me. You don't get dropped this time of year. It makes no sense to me. So that would, if Vernell Brown III was quote unquote still a 5-star in the composite, that's what we're going by. And Dallas Wilson is too. It'd have been the first time Florida had signed 2 5-star wide receivers since Chad Jackson and Andre Caldwell. So in my mind, this is what you're kind of replicating here. In the same class, guys at that level. On the 24/7 Sports all-time recruiting rankings, Caldwell 2nd, Jackson is 4th. So not quite that high, of course, but you still get 2 elite wide receivers here. And I think the big thing about getting these two together, different types and different skill set here with Wilson and Brown. 2 of the top players in Florida's class, 2 of the top players in the state of Florida, but 2 of the top players in Florida's class followed by Hilton Drake Stubbs. And what a haul here late in this class at the top of the class now. Here at receiver with Vernell Brown III and Dallas Wilson, Stubbs, Lagonza Hayward, Ty Jackson, Jaden Woods to go along with the long-committed Ben Hanks Jr. and Jalen Wiggins. A good wide receiver haul as well in this class of 2025 now. 4-star Nashawn Montgomery in the class, should not be forgotten. Luis Tunkara, another big-bodied receiver. So you got different sizes, different skill sets in this class of 2025 with these 4 receivers for the Gators. Pretty versatile group here. So, talking about this class of 2025, Wilson's the 24th addition to the class, and now Florida jumps back into the top 10 of the class at number 10, just ahead of Tennessee and right behind Michigan. It puts Florida 7th in the SEC. Now, as I said, the storyline here, you guys know it. It's odd, you don't bank on you don't bank on this. You don't bank on things like this happening to build a roster, but it's definitely why you're just willing to let things play out with the portal and just football in general now, and football recruiting in general now. It's so different in how you approach recruiting now. You let guys visit as many times as they want. You keep those relationships good. Now, this one, I'm not going to lie, this one hurt on signing day because it was right there on signing day. I mean, this should have happened then. And it was a dagger that day. We wake up on signing day, and there's all good feelings. It's out on social media, Steve Wiltfong, all the national media, everybody I trust, sitting here saying, hey, Dallas Wilson's picking Florida on signing day. All right, good. Let's get we got him. And then the dagger comes and he doesn't pick Florida. So for him, I love the way he plays a wide receiver spot. I think he can be a freshman wide receiver that steps on campus, makes an immediate impact in the role, that Florida needs with this taller downfield threat type of receiver. J. Michael Sturdivant come in as a transfer this week. And, you don't have to force Dallas Wilson out there, but I think he's going to force his way out there. I wouldn't be shocked to see VB3 and Wilson making early impacts at this wide receiver spot. So Florida, I still think going to attack the transfer portal a bit. Maybe could be a little more selective here now. But there we go. It's working out at receiver after I know it was a slow start to the portal, but it was trying to preach a little more patience than panic toward the beginning of this. But some things just meant to be. And you go and look back at it. Guys, let's go back a year ago. This is kind of reminiscent of the 2024 class. Well, Florida got DeAndre Robinson from Texas. They released him from his letter of intent, and he was part of the regular 2024 recruiting class. And in some ways, Jameer Grimsley too, but Bama wouldn't release him. He had to transfer to Florida, but still, he's in the same class. But it's another great example of let these guys visit. keep those good relationships. So if it comes back around, you're the winner after all this. You're the winner, whether it's right around signing day or whether it's down the road. Let's not forget a player, Pup Howard, Cormani McLean, didn't work out originally. A year down the road, they're Gators again. That's just the world of college football we live in now. But I can't overstate getting the state's best talent. We've talked about it at length. No need to hit the repeat of all the issues, but it's time to start keeping the talent in state. And you got two of the best receivers in the country that were in your state. And now with this one, Vernell Brown III, Dallas Wilson, going to be Gators. Surrounding your quarterback, your superstar quarterback, DJ Lagway, with talent for years to come. Next 2 seasons. That's how you win. Stack elite talent. Year in and year out. Let's get to some comments before I sign off here. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Second episode and the last, hour and a half here. Had those transfer portal acquisitions earlier. Then I was like, okay, I'll do it. If I have to do another episode, I will. And boom, there it was. So all good. It is good stuff. I'm glad you guys can hear me though. Going back to the earlier comments here. Keanu says, Jonte Cook next. Yeah, we'll see. And they talked about that in the last episode as well. And we'll see what happens there. Maybe it happens again on this Sunday night. Maybe I'm doing another episode later on Sunday night. or maybe it's Monday. We'll see. But as I said, now with the receiver spot, you could be selective. Is the portal done? Will there be more receivers entering the portal? Who knows? Let me get a sip of water right quick. All right, here we go. Matthew Walker, Orange and Blue football coverage. We've been waiting for this. LFG. Everybody knows what that means, but try to keep it family friendly here on Gators Breakdown. I cuss enough off the mic, so. Dally, let's go, Dave. Love the videos. Go, Gators. Joshua does ask the question, does Jonte Cook still commit after this? Well, believe me, the decision here, like he would have already made the decision. He knew, I'm sure he knew. This staff's been pretty forthcoming about things. He had to know. If he's on campus this weekend, he knows if Dallas Wilson's going to commit and be with this part of this team as well. So it shouldn't affect it. My thing is he was either going to commit to Florida or not. This shouldn't change his. An announcement at 8:00 on Sunday night shouldn't change his mind. He knew yesterday while on campus, really, because Dallas Wilson just didn't make up his mind at 8:00 tonight. This has been in the works, so I'm sure he has been told it's been in the works. And look, we all knew. So I mean, he's there on ground zero. He knows. I lean him committing, as does DJ Cook will commit, as he says. Billy B says, duh, freaking Billy. Oscar, good question. I should have said this. Is Wilson an early enrollee? Yes, I was told earlier today, he will be an early enrollee. So good stuff. He gets to go through spring practice as well. And good for DJ Lagway. Now, I hadn't heard much about this, and I wanted to go back and ask more about it. Now, Vernell Brown III told me, not on air, but right after we got through recording with him, he was going to take part in bowl practices. I didn't see any images of him there. He had just played in the state championship game as well. And when he had told me that, Florida hadn't been selected for the Gasparilla Bowl yet. So, of course, the bowl schedule had been pushed up. And Vernell Brown III had just played in his state championship game the weekend before. So I'm not sure. I'm going to ask around to see if he still took part in that and if some of the other freshmen took part in bowl practices as well. But kind of going on that note about the early enrollee part, you'll have VB3, you'll have Wilson in spring practice, getting the rapport down with DJ Lagway. Big deal. Let's see. Michael Martin says, I heard from SI. I'm assuming Sports Illustrated. Yeah. Flip because of sick family and stuff. Yep, like I said, family reasons, wanting to be closer to home. I mean, the reason wanting to be closer to home is to be closer to the family. Mr. Bassman, absolutely Merry friggin' Christmas. And guys, you know, I said it on the last episode, but certainly more viewership for this one, more listenership for this one. I'm on vacation. And we know what happens. We know what happens when I'm on vacation. And now it just doesn't seem, it used to just focus around the summer. And I'll be on summer vacations. Just kind of coincides with all the commitments. Well, I was on Thanksgiving vacation earlier this year, you know, just a month or so ago. A slew of commitments that week. Christmas vacation now. And already a pretty good Sunday. 2 transfers. Dallas Wilson, and kind of been in the works. But hey, he was just waiting on me to go on vacation. You know, Sunday starts a new week. I'm on vacation. Dallas Wilson said, you know, let me wait till Gator Dave goes on vacation, and then we'll make it official. Brian Fisher, absolutely, man. I think so too. Instant impact there. Oh, Brandon, you bring up a good point, man. Thanks for hopping in here. We had this conversation the other day in another Gator message with friends with some messages I'm in. Talent wise, I might have to go back to 96. Compare the receiver room, get Cook, and Florida will have 4 5-star receivers. Somebody had said, this would be the best receiver room since. Oh no, I think they said ever. When I said, hold on now. I'm a stars guy. I'm a stars gazer. I'm a stars matter. It works out. We all know that. Still. 95, 96, Doring, Ike, Riedel, Jacquez. I mean, those 4 guys together in 95, 3 of those guys together in 96 going to win a national championship. You got a lot before you get ready for, at least production-wise. Now, name-wise, sure. And star-wise, you know, like I said, in the mid-90s, a lot different there as far as how you look at recruiting. But you hope you get anything close to replicating a 1996 receiver room. Now, of course, the style of offense is going to come into play here. You got the quarterback. And as we have kind of said this, you hope by recruiting a receiver room like this that the offense opens up a bit. Lean into it. I know Billy Napier loves to run the ball. I know he recruits really good running backs, and those guys are there. But you have a window. You have a quarterback. They don't come around that often like this. Does DJ Lagway have things to get better at? Sure. He's a true freshman quarterback. He's going to. You got a 2-season window here. Lean into him. Lean into these receivers. That's your path to a national championship. But it brings up a good point. And when you look at receiver rooms, they could go to 2001 when you could pair Jabbar Gaffney, Rashae Caldwell, Taylor Jacobs. I did like the 2019 wide receiver room. Swain, Hammond, Van Jefferson, Trevon Grimes. You could go pretty deep there. 2020, you Pitts and Tony together. But yeah, I think you're starting to recruit at a level where you can go pretty deep at receiver. Hey, Michael, thanks for that donation earlier there when you your comment there. I'll throw it back up. But thanks. Thank you so much. I guess the Real Army Sniper kind of went to the point I was just kind of making there. Y'all trust Napier play calling with all these skill players. Hey, sometimes the skill players raise up a coach. So, hey, Mr. Bassman, there you go. You said it too. At least Gaffney, Caldwell, and Jacobs. There you go. I didn't see your comment, but that was part of the conversation I was having the other day. That was my group behind the 96 group too. Brandon, I don't know, man. Can't imagine Florida have a receiver not hit at 1K next season. Not saying any of them, or not saying none of them are good enough to, but if you got this many of them, you might just be spreading the ball out too much for one guy to get 1,000. I don't know. We'll see. It's a good point. And as we have said, play calling's got to go to it. And I mean, Ricky Preston almost got it a couple years ago anyway. So the possibilities there, even in this offense, that it can happen. But still, I think if you're going to be as deep at receiver as you want to be, I'm not sure. I mean, Pearsall had, we just did our over-unders, right? And I kind of remember that number, around 60 or 60-something receptions. Trey Wilson almost had that as well, but of course, in those, a lot of those pop passes back in the 2023 season, and Pearsall almost still got it. So, yeah, I think you'd have to have, two guys, no more than two guys break away to get that 1,000 yards. All right, going to some comments here, some more. Thanks, everybody, for hopping in. I mean, it was a short notice episode, but you knew with the news that it wasn't going to be long that I was coming and doing an episode. Real Army Sniper, I think he's throwing it pretty deep here, praising Napier for a 7-5 season. Ridiculous. Well, I mean, for most, I think I've seen 7-5 praising for the turnaround, with the admission and realization that it has to be better. Doesn't have to be 0. Doesn't have to be 100. There's a lot of in between. There's a lot of nuance. Mr. Bassman says, Billy did the one thing he had to do to have a chance at being a national champion. DJ Lagway. Everything is about him. That's why these receivers are interested in Florida. You have a quarterback, you have a chance. Louis says, and I agree with this point. I had this point and said the same thing earlier. I had people, do we still take Cook? If TJ Moore, the Clemson receiver, if he enters the portal, look, this goes for any portal wide receiver out there, would we take him? As Louis says right here, stack as many skilled players as possible. If Cook wants in, you take him. Absolutely. Stack talent. Now, not at the sacrifice of, losing a position player somewhere else. But I've always told myself, and I think it holds true, numbers work themselves out. And kind of going to that point, Rob asked, need an offensive tackle, productive defensive lineman, maybe a veteran defensive back. Kenneth, will we have the offensive line play? Any news on adding a portal at that position? I talked about that in the last episode too. No, the name escapes me. There was supposed to be an offensive tackle on campus this week. It didn't happen. There's some thought there that Florida's going in a different direction, targeting somebody else who may be entering the portal, just entered the portal, but there's not a lot of offensive line talk out there in the portal right now anyway. At least for the Florida side. It's hard. That's the hardest position to get some info on as far as the transfer portal goes. Let's see. Go on to some more comments here before I sign off here. Busy night. A fun night. Alexander, Dave, do you think these offensive weapons have a bit more insight on the potential decision of an offensive coordinator in the offseason? If you're asking that as far as they're coming to Florida because there might be Billy Napier giving up play calling duties, no. Overall, no, I don't think that. I don't think they have any insight into a decision. I know that was a rumor of why Dallas Wilson didn't pick Florida as far as the signing day fiasco goes. No, it had nothing to do with it, as we see here. He didn't decide to change his mind in between signing day and now because he had been told, hey, you know what? We are going to go hire an offensive coordinator. Okay, I'm coming to Florida now. And that's not how it worked. So that's not to say an offensive coordinator won't happen, but I don't think these decisions by these players are happening because of that. Breland, or I hope I'm saying that right. Breland, we still got Mizell. Eugene Wilson III. Oh my God, what a room. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see some movement out of that room. And I hope those two guys are not part of that movement. I hope those guys are part of this wide receiver. And look, they will be. Pretty sure they will be. Okay, let's see. Before I sign off, going to go through here a bit, try to get back to my night a bit. Kenny says, Dave, haven't heard you be this excited in a while. Thanks for everything, bro. Hey, man, I just want to see this team win. We've been down in the dumps for far too long. This last month has been a lot of fun. The turnaround of the season, the turnaround of the recruiting class. Is it where we want to be ultimately? No. Hopefully it's a start of the trend in the right direction. Starting, continuing with the good news here with Dallas Wilson. It's just, yeah. And look, this was a player I've just wanted for so long. Been a big fan of Dallas Wilson and the type of receiver that he could be in this wide receiver room for Florida on the field, the deep threat, the playmaking ability. And pairing that with somebody like Vernell Brown III. And I do not want to shadow over what type of receiver Vernell Brown III is either. You know, I've had him on the podcast twice. Lauded his ability. I've wanted to pair it with something like this because now, like I said, you've got two type of big-time receivers here. They're going to complement each other. You want to go double that Wilson down the field? Okay, well, Vernell Brown III is open down, underneath. And Vernell Brown III can get down the field as well. He can make contested catches. He can catch in traffic. I think you just got some well-rounded receivers in this receiver room right now, and these two guys got to bring it up. But overall, we should be happy right now as Gator fans. Is there still room for growth? Absolutely. You can't repeat this year and expect to go win a national championship, go compete for a college football playoff spot, but you see the signs. You see some of the signs. This thing's heading in the right direction. Now it's up to Napier and staff and these players to go take that next step. But I think at least we have this feeling that at least the next step is possible. It's been a while since there's been conviction in that thought. And with that comes a lot of fun. Since I've started Gators Breakdown, look, guys, this was, first of all, thank you again. But this is the ninth season covering this Gator football team with Gators Breakdown. And most of them have not been good. Most of them have not been good. The first couple of years were Jim McElwain's last 2 years. And, there was an SEC championship appearance in there, but you knew that team wasn't all that good. And then it fell apart the next year. And then you get Dan Mullen, and there was a lot of fun under Dan Mullen. I'm not going to lie. A lot of fun. 18 was fun. 19 was fun. 20 was fun until the very end. And then it just fell apart. And since then, it just hasn't been much fun. And look, I love college football. I love the sport of college football. I'm going to have fun just because of that. But it's a lot more fun when that orange and blue team is winning. With that team, with that curse of Gators, that script Gators on the side of their helmet is going out there and winning more ball games. It's a lot more fun. And I haven't had to do that a whole lot right here. So as a fan first and a podcast host second, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. Now, that depends on the team a lot. But you can feel, I've said for a while with Billy Napier, this fan base has waited and waited and waited just for something to latch onto. There's a lot of support that's just waiting to happen. It's been there. It's been there. But the exuberation, the jubilation, that's what's just been waiting to explode with this fan base paired with Billy Napier. And we got more of it in the last, 4 or 5 weeks than we've gotten in the whole tenure of Billy Napier. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Let's continue it. All right. Kind of go. There we go. Yeah, going to the same point. Breland Sneed, one more time, says, the way we ended the season was very impressive and gave me hope for next season. Kevin Reed, some of these guys got to return kicks and make plays on special teams. Yep. Ooh, Louie, good question, man. Dave, how high of a ceiling do you see Dallas Wilson having as a freshman? Jeremiah Smith level. I don't want to put that on any receiver. Jeremiah Smith, that's a different level. That is elite of elite. I'm hoping Dallas Wilson can be close to that. Will he have to be? I don't know. But, man, we get anything close to that, and, yeah, Florida may be fighting for that college football playoff spot in SEC championship. If you're getting that out of Dallas Wilson, So, but how high of a ceiling as a freshman? I won't put him that high. But I wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be surprised. Brian Fisher, Zachariah Brandt, any chance? I don't think so. Brian, can't wait to listen to this one on the ride, he says. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Jeremy Morris. I think that's a Jeremy Morris I know. Thanks, Jeremy. Get out of the 12 personnel now. I think you got to lean into, it's still got a place, but yeah. I think you've got to start seeing more 4 receiver sets out there. Chad Hayes, absolutely. Dave, could this roster make the 12-team playoff? Yeah, they could. I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face when this conversation comes up and people... Now, if you don't believe, it's going to be out there that people won't believe Billy Napier can. That's fine. That's fine. You're, like I said, I'm not going to try and tell people how to think. But you asked this question about the roster and what we've seen in college football this year. Now, if this season is a lot like, if next season is a lot like this season, then even more so, absolutely Florida can make the 12-team playoff. And you might can anyway. Even if Georgia goes back to being elite, even if Alabama goes back to being elite, multiple SEC teams are going to get in. Yes, this is a roster. When you got a quarterback like DJ Lagway, when you don't recruit at that level of those elite teams, the other way to get there is an elite quarterback. You got one. I'm going to stand by that. I'm going to stand by. I think DJ Lagway is that type of quarterback. Now, I do think there is enough of the roster around him for this team to make the 12-team playoff. So, yes. And you know what? As I've said before, this was just a point I was going to go back and make. You did not bring Billy Napier back. You did not make that decision for it to be a reset. You're at the University of Florida. You're in year 4 of building your program. It is time to go compete for championships. That is why you brought him back. So, yes, the expectation should be to be in that college football playoff discussion. Let's see. I see a bunch of offensive coordinator talk. I get it. I get it, but we're just going to have to see. It's just repeating a whole lot. But kind of going to the point here, Brandon McStay. Let's not forget next season is a make or break year again for Napier. Lose to LSU and Miami back to back, and he's fired. Why do we waste our time? I think he has to hire an OC. Yeah, that early season, you cannot, you got to get off to a better start in the early season big games. Kenneth, man, that's what I'm waiting on too. My first year listening to you was in 2018. I hope we can eventually come on here and celebrate an SEC championship. Me too, man. Me too. All right. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Wish I could I'd be here all night with the comments. So last one, going to the overall thing. Brian says 8 wins this year should definitely be 10 next season minimum. Got to be in the conversation. Got to be in the conversation. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Big news. Everybody hit that like button. I know you like the info. I know you like the content. I know you like the subject matter right here on this episode of Dallas Wilson becoming a Florida Gator. So to help me out, hit that like button one time. Subscribe right here on Gators Breakdown if you haven't done so yet. I don't know if I remember doing that or not. Michael, Chad, thanks for the donations, guys. It means a whole lot right here. Supporting Gators Breakdown. Alexander, thanks, man. Thanks for everything, Dave. Been a surprisingly good season. You too, man. Hope you enjoyed the trip to Tampa basketball game the other day. Like I said, making memories out there. And there's been a whole lot of good memories for these Gators in the last few weeks. And hope it continues. With a lot more good memories being made in the 2025 season. And it starts with recruiting like this. Starts with getting guys on the field like this. One more time. Dallas Wilson officially signs with the Florida Gators, bolstering that wide receiver room and bolstering the class of 2025. All right, guys, that'll do it. This episode of Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me again for this episode of Gators Breakdown.